I recorded a video about star Maine Coons. This, at the time, was one of the only people that were scamming unknowing buyers out of their money. So I did a video and I explained how they use their website to manipulate people into sending money for a kitten that they really didn't have. Things have changed. It's now 2022 at the time that I'm doing this video, and the scammers have all of these new methods that they're using to scam people out of money. So this video is to bring awareness to you if you're a buyer of a kitten of any pedigree breed, because these are the people that they target. And they do have a strategy. They research the market and they know what the average asking price is for a pedigree kitten, and they price it below that, considerably below that. So they target people that are in usually the Facebook groups. They see them inquiring about kittens or looking for kittens, and they go after them, and they get them on private messenger, and then they start a conversation with them, and they end up trying to sell them a kitten that they don't own for less than what the average going price is for a kitten. That's kind of the process. But they have all of these different methods for presenting themselves to these buyers, and that's what we're going to go over today. You're going to know how to spot these scammers, hopefully, so that you don't get taken advantage of. So the first one we're going to talk about is breeder stealing. That's when the scammer creates a fake Facebook profile and uses the name of another breeder. So they go hunt the name of breeders down that actually work with pedigree cats and decide on who they want to be. Then they create a profile with that exact name. They put on there that they are a pet breeder or an animal breeder. They grab some pictures of people that are not them with cats, and they start messaging the people in the Facebook groups. So if you are speaking to someone via Facebook Messenger and you go check their profile out, which you should always do, and you see something that looks off, like, I don't know, maybe the pictures of the people don't match so much, or it's not a consistent vibe going on with the profile, or the profile looks brand new, like they haven't had a lot of activity, they haven't filled out anything about their personal information or the about info or websites, or it's just kind of a blank profile, that might be something you want to raise a red flag about. Next, Cattery stealing. This is when the scammer claims to own a particular website that is a cattery, and they send the victim to a legitimate cattery website. For example, they used my website, sassykoonz.com, and they were talking to a buyer of a kitten that they didn't own, and they said, yes, my name is Tracy Kaywood, which is my name, with Sassy Koonz, which is my cattery, and they sent the person to my website and said, here's my website, go have a look. So when the person went and looked, it looked legitimate because they were on a legitimate breeder's website. So that is really sneaky. But the profile that the person was talking from was the one that should have raised the red flag. If you were to go look at the profile of this person, you would see that it's kind of empty, not a lot of information on it, just not one that looks like a real person or anybody who has been established on Facebook for any amount of time. What you can do if you are a breeder is post a notice like the one that is on the screen right now. This is what I added to my website so that if any scammer is sending traffic to my website, this notice is going to pop up at the top of every page and let them know that there are people posing as my cattery and stealing my content, and the only way to reserve one of our kittens is to follow the adoption process listed on the website. So that will immediately devalidate the person that they're talking to, because that's not the process that they were told to do. So if you don't have this notice on your website or something similar, and get it on there so that if somebody, you don't know when it's going to happen, they just steal random cattery and breeder information with a moment's notice, within one blink, you know somebody's out there using a fake name or a real name, just a fake person, and using someone else's Cattery information. So look for this notice, and if you're a breeder and you don't have this notice, put it on your website. This is happening on all over the country, perhaps all over the world, and it's happening to all breeds. So get this notice on your website. Next is photo stealing. Oh, this is kind of how it started. It's when the scammer steals photos from other breeders' social media accounts or their websites, and they use those pictures to sell kittens. So if, for example, they'll go grab some kittens off of websites, put them on their website, and say, this one is for sale, it's blank, blank, blank dollars, contact me if you want to buy it. They hit contact, they get taken to an email where it's so fake. I mean, once you start talking to these people through email, you can kind of tell that they're just kind of pushy and they're trying to rush you through the process. But just because someone has a photo of a kitten and they're sending it only through social media to show you what they have, those could be stolen photos, even if they're watermarked. So you have to just be very diligent about who you're talking to and how they're handling the transaction. So, if you ever at any time feel like something's off, or, this doesn't seem like how a pedigreed breeder would act, then, that's your gut talking to you. Next is credibility stealing. This is when the scammer swipes a certificate or a registration form or something from a valid breeder and uses that to try to build trust with their victim. So in this case, I actually put a screenshot up of someone who sent me a message to tell me someone was using my outstanding Cattery certificate and saying that it was them. And you see it says, I just banged a tikka award from Florida last week. Let her know I'm a legitimate breeder with this. And she had told this person that her name was Susie, but yet it has my name on it. So she came up with some excuse of why this certificate had someone else's name on it. But you can see they're trying to use this certificate to build credibility with unknowing people. So they will just go swipe anything that is put out there in social media and use it to try to scam people. Next is website stealing. So that is when the scammer duplicates another breeder's website exactly. They literally clone it, and they buy a domain name, they have it hosted, but they're using your pictures, your text, your copy. They just have their contact information. It happens. So if you are a buyer and you are looking at someone's website, check whois.com to see who owns the website. And do your research. Maybe refer back to the Star Maine Coons video that I did, and it will tell you how to spot some of the scammers and how they set up their website and how they do their pricing and how to look at the photos to see if they're consistent with each other or are they just grabbing pictures from someone else. But they definitely will duplicate another breeder's website and use it as their own. This is one we saw recently. This is tikka slip stealing. This is when the scammer uses Photoshop to forge a registration or a transfer form. So if you're looking at the screen, you can see that it looks like a legitimate tikka certificate of registration with a transfer of ownership. This is what I give to my kitten buyers when they buy a kitten. But if you look carefully at the registration slip, it doesn't have a prefix on the cat name. And if you are a legitimate Cattery, you have a Cattery name, and the Cattery name prefix is attached to every cat that comes out of your Cattery. It can't be taken off. So this just says cat name Claire. Well, that's not how a registration slip from any legitimate Cattery would read. If it's from Sassy Koonz, then the cat name would be Sassy Koonz Claire. Same thing with the sire and the dam. There's no Cattery names attached to the names here. But you can see it says breeder Tracy K. Wood and owner Tracy K. Wood. That's not true. That's me, and this is not a registration slip that has come from my Cattery. So either they have created an account with Tikka as a fake breeder, or they have just photoshopped this registration form with a transfer of ownership and they are using it. So in this particular scam, what they told the buyer was that they bought the kittens from me so that the registration slip would look legitimate, and that they could not keep them, so they were rehoming them. So they made the person think that they came from a legitimate Cattery, not that they were a Cattery, and now they were selling them for only, X amount of dollars. And this particular person fell for it. He thought the paperwork looked legitimate because he just was not informed. He didn't know what a real registration looked like. And so he thought, wow, the cat has papers. That's great. And he bought the kitten and took it home. And then something in his gut said, I don't know. Something isn't right about this. And then he found me using this name that's on this slip. And that's when he reached out to me and sent me a message and told me everything that was going on and how he got scammed out of his $1,000. He did leave with a kitten, but unfortunately the kitten was not a pedigree Maine Coon. He sent me pictures of it, and he found these people on Craigslist. So be wary of Craigslist ads from people who are rehoming pedigree Maine Coons. Do your research. Not a lot of breeders sell kittens on Craigslist. Next is process stealing. This is when a scammer poses as a buyer and asks questions to the breeder about their process so that they can mimic it. So I've had this happen several times where someone pops into my messenger and they're asking me my process. Like, what do you do first? What do you do second? Can people visit your home? What's your deposit? How do you collect money? And so they're learning how I do things, and then the next day I see them, the same person, posting scam links on my website, on my page. And like, oh my God, I just talked to this person yesterday, and they were really just researching how I do things so that they could use it to scam people. And finally is the deposit scam. If you're talking to someone, they've passed, your gut instinct feeling, and you've done some research, and you get down to the point where they're asking for a deposit, and they want the money paid via a gift card or Apple Pay, that's your red flag. Most breeders are going to collect money through Venmo, through PayPal, or through a payment system like Stripe. Anytime they want a gift card is total red flag. Just run as fast as you can. It's because they're untraceable and nobody can ever figure out who they are. Once they get the money, they ghost you. They block you. You never hear from them again. I also hear that they are telling people that they can pick the kitten up at their house, no problem. So they pay the deposit, and then they're waiting on an address where they can come pick their kitten up, and that's when they get ghosted by the scammer. They get their money, they never hear from them again. So how can you prevent yourself from being scammed by one of these people? Don't be in a hurry to buy a kitten. I think that's the best advice that I can give anyone who is looking. If you're, being impulsive, or you feel like you need a kitten today and you want to buy one right now, that's probably when you're going to get caught up in a bad situation. Most breeders are not going to have kittens that are available right now. I mean, sure they do. They certainly have kittens that are available, but most are going to have a waiting list or a process, and you're going to have to fill out an application, and you're going to have to do an interview. Just, there's usually a little bit slower of a process when you're dealing with a legitimate breeder than to be able to message them and buy a kitten today. So I'm not saying they're all like that, but don't be in a hurry to buy. Even if a breeder has one available that you are in love with, make sure you do your due diligence if you feel like anything is not right with this person. You got to listen to your gut. So I also suggest that you follow several breeders online and watch them. See what kind of information they put out, how they interact with their audience and with their kittens, and videos that they post. And just look, you can certainly tell the authentic breeders from the ones that are not so authentic. Be super leery of anyone that is pushy. Don't let anyone push you or high pressure you into buying a kitten. The tactic that they use is that this one's not going to be available. I've got somebody else interested. Don't worry about that. There's always another kitten that's going to be available from a legitimate breeder. Start a conversation with the breeder and see what kind of conversation they're willing to have with you, how engaging they are. And again, go with your gut. Review their website. Check for updates. See if they actually update their website or if they have just built it to attract people long enough to scam them. These scammers don't last very long. They're in and out because they get reported, and they just don't want to be around that long and get tracked down. So they're not here very long. They're here long enough to make money off of the buyers, and then they're out, and then another one pops up. So they're real quick. When in doubt, request a video chat. This is probably the most legitimate way to see if the person really does have this kitten, is say, hey, can you do a video chat with me and let me see that the kitten is actually real and that you're real and that you have this kitten in your possession. If you will, please share this information on your social media accounts and help get the word out of how these people are taking advantage of buyers who just don't know the difference between a real breeder and somebody who's trying to scam you out of money. If you're a breeder, share. If you're a buyer, share. If you've been victimized and you've lost money to the scammer, I know a lot of people have, share it. Let's help shut these people down, make it real obvious what they're doing, and so they can't do it anymore. Thanks for watching.